so you will be picked up. I'll ask that the selectmen make sure your mic is close enough. There was some people that sent me an email, said they couldn't hear on the, in the public watching the meeting. Okay, I will call the Southbury Board of Selectmen regular meeting, January 20, 2022 to order at 7 p.m. If we could have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Okay, public comments? Public comments? Any public comments? Nobody's here. We'll move on. Before we get too far, I'd like to add to the agenda under new business, a reappointment of Tamith Rossi as municipal agent. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Greg, thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried. It'll be added to the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, one more housekeeping matter.
Yes, sir.
I make a motion to remove the Human Resources and Fiscal Administrator job description from the consent agenda and add it to new business.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And it carries. That'll be line 3 on new business. Okay, you have your announcements and correspondence. You have your reports. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Can I have a second? John?
Second that.
Thank you, John. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, and it carries. We're on to bids and, oh, I'm sorry, I rushed this a little bit. I should have called this in the very beginning. I'd like to call for a moment of silence. June Schroeder, co-founder of the Southbury Volunteer Firemen Association's Ladies Auxiliary, passed away. This organization continues to support the men and women of Southbury Volunteer Firemen's Association, and I know how much they enjoy, the firemen enjoy seeing them show up with food, coffee, et cetera, at a fire, especially on cold nights in the middle of the night. The Southbury Volunteer, the Ladies Auxiliary part of that. Being a fireman, it was a wonderful addition. They really do support the people, and she was a co-founder, and she lived, as Justin knows, they were here in Southbury many years. And I thank you for that. Okay, bids and procurement zoning regulation update. There's been some questions about what the update, where the money's coming from and what the purpose is. So Jessica, if you could come up and give us the, what this is about for the board.
Hi, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Jessica. I'm the
Can you speak into the Just raise the mic.
Land
Got
use
to raise the mic. Here, wait a minute.
Is that better? Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
I'm Jessica, I'm the land use administrator. This is Ty, she's the zoning enforcement officer. You received an email from me earlier that was a conjoined effort for us to hopefully answer any questions and give everybody information as to the whys and all of that for the zoning reg update. Does anybody have any subsequent questions?
So,
Go ahead.
go ahead. No,
No, thank you for the summary. I thought it was very helpful and sort of explained, exactly where we are and where we're going. I guess my only clarifying question is sort of how this ties into the POCD and Affordable Housing Plan and the timing of it, and how this person works with Malone or SLR on those other aspects that are going on sort of at the same time.
So he isn't going to work hand in hand with SLR. They're going to continue with the POCD update and the Affordable Housing Plan. He's going to work on his own on the zoning regs. As you know, the Affordable Housing Plan will be done in June of this year, and the POCD will be done in 2022, or I'm sorry, December 2023. No, this year. I'm sorry, 2022. I'm getting confused with the years. So when that is finished, he'll begin phase 2 of the zoning regulations and implement any changes that those plans call for into the zoning regulations. At that time, they'll be all reorganized. There won't be any inconsistencies. Everything, the definitions will all be in one spot. It'll be a much more comprehensive document, so those changes brought about by the POCD and the Affordable Housing Plan will be able to fit right in there without a whole lot of change and work and all of that.
And I understand there's some new state laws that need to be
Yes.
put into that too, because they're
Correct.
there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yep, I just want to comment. I said it to you privately, publicly, thank you so much for putting that together.
You're
It really
welcome.
filled in all the blanks for me in terms of what I wanted to know.
Great,
And,
I'm glad to hear that.
I guess my only personal curiosity questions are we still in a holding pattern with POCD open house?
That has been rescheduled. I did not bring anything for planning with me, and at this moment. March 24th? Is it March 20? I believe, yeah, I think you're right.
March, okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be in March, I just couldn't remember the exact date. We just set a whole bunch of dates for special meetings and that sort of thing. I will keep everybody posted. I would love for everybody to attend and meet everybody and be part of it.
Thank you. And then last question, will there be an opportunity to get a draft preview of the Affordable Housing Plan before it's ready in June? Do we have that opportunity? Or?
Yeah, there's, yes, I will keep you
Okay.
posted on that as well. Like I said, I don't know, I haven't talked to the consultants about when that's gonna come about. But yeah, I think they want as many people involved as possible. And there will be a virtual open house for the Affordable Housing Plan. That's gonna be on February 24th.
Okay.
It's a virtual workshop, and there's gonna be a story map, all of that. I'll have more information as it gets closer.
Awesome.
They
Thank
had
you.
actually, they had been working on that. We had kind of anticipated there may be a problem. So they worked on, they had this set up. We would hope to have had people come to in-house. And they had already set, that's why the virtual is almost ready to go, because we kind of figured there could be something could happen. And it's also just another way to get more information from citizens about all the plan of conservation and development.
Great.
So, we didn't want to say that was coming, because then people would not come to the in-house affordable, or in-house POCD meeting and do that afterwards, but this was already in the works, and once that was no longer an option, that's why the virtual is working right behind
Yep.
that.
Got it. Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I mean, virtual is good, but it would have been, it's not the same. We all know it's not the same, and I don't want people not going to an open house and using the virtual as a reason, a purpose to skip it. I mean, if we have to, we have to. But we'd hope to have actually that and the next one going, so it is what it is. Any other questions?
Do we have a sense why the bid that we're gonna take is so much lower than the other three? Seem to be complete. The guy at
I'd-
the top looks like he didn't really,
There was another lower bid,
I
but
see
it
that.
wasn't a complete
it's not complete. no.
bid, so we had to throw that one out. The other companies are not local,
Right.
so maybe that had a factor in it. It was kind of like a cookie cutter proposal that they send out to everywhere in the country, for these kind of things.
In my, I'm sorry, I don't mean
Go
to
ahead.
cut you off. In my experience, when we got the bids back for the POCD, they were all over the map. That seems to just be the way it happens. I don't know. I think you're probably correct.
That's just a theory that I have, is that this is a local gentleman. The other one was a local person as well.
Right,
And
and then you got
unfortunately, it got
Cincy
thrown
and-
out, and those were the two lowest bids. The other ones were not anybody that would be familiar with this area even as much.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
Absolutely. Motion to approve the zoning regulation update as presented to us.
Do I have a second? Holly seconded it. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? And it carries. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thanks
Nice
for coming.
meeting you.
And just for the public's benefit, the information sent to us this afternoon, I just asked that it be attached to the minutes.
Very good. You have the minutes of January 6, 2022 regular meeting.
Motion to approve?
Do I have a second, John?
Second that.
Thank you. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of approval? Aye. Opposed, abstentions, and it carries. Nothing under unfinished business at this time. We are new business. The town attorney appointment. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the approval?
Just say that, of the interviews that we sat in on, you really had a couple good options, so,
Yeah.
looking forward to working with these folks.
Yeah, I thought the interviews went well. It's going to be good to have Tom and his firm on board. And I just want to mention, I think the town went through a good process here. And doing this, our bid ordinance, or our bid policy does not require bidding for town attorney position. But we sort of did that anyways to gain information and, get proposals from firms. And we did have 4, and I thought it was a good process. And, look forward to working with Tom.
Okay. I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? And it carries. Next, on number 2, on new business, I don't know if Betsy has that up. Did Noreen send that to you, the resolution? Resolved that the Southbury Board of Selectmen hereby reappoints Tamith Rossi as municipal agent for the town of Southbury for a term to expire on January 15th. This came to our attention that it had expired just a couple of weeks or 2 ago, and asked if this could get on the agenda. And it's a formality. She is the senior center director of the senior center, and she has been a municipal agent and needs to be appointed.
Make the motion?
Second.
Made and seconded. Any discussion on it? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions, and it carries. Next is what did we pull out there? Jason, we pulled out the,
Human Resources.
Human
and Fiscal
Resource.
Administrator job description.
can you pull that up? Thank you. So as you know, we have currently we're no longer going to be doing human resources with our outside consultant. This is a position that we would like to create. Human resources need in town is not a full-time, 35-hour-a-week need in town. So Dan and I have been talking about this, and what we currently have in the budget, I think it's $100,000, Dan, for human resource consultants. We have a little more to do on this, but I want you to be aware of it. This will be both an HR onboarding, offboarding. We're looking at software to do that kind of work. We're watching, Dan and I have been looking at the federal money coming out for infrastructure. There's a tremendous amount of money coming for, I think, for grants and bridges infrastructure that's on top of everything else. And it's kind of, you're going to need someone to be on top of those grants and do grant writing. We've never had an actual grant writing, someone to write the grants, and keep up with the day-to-day. We did what we thought as a board, prior to some new people being on here. And it's really not, we're still doing a lot of this, and Dan is doing a lot of it. Dan, you've been onboarding and offboarding a lot of people. Yeah, so we're not ready to move anything on this, but it will be coming. Holly, you are going to work with this, and Jason with Dan, and maybe we'll hopefully have it at the next board meeting. There's money in the budget. Like I said, it's in the we have the money from the consultant side to do that. But I would like to make, I want to get going on this, because HR is always it's always difficult. I don't know why they hire people to do HR work.
Yeah,
I don't know. Every day's an adventure.
I just think from the, as we explore the option, because it's a new, it's a new position, so I think as the board, we sort of also need to understand the impact globally and on the fiscal office and whatnot, because it seems to be a little bit of a reorganization as well, and the budgetary component, and we should also solicit input from the Board of Finance. And the reason I say that is because ordinarily, new positions like this would be through the budget process. So if we're going to do it before the budget process, I think we should still follow similar protocol, but, streamline it, if that's the goal.
I'm curious to see.
Can you turn your button on, and move it closer to you, please?
Yep, sorry. I'm curious to see what the candidate options will be that have backgrounds in both HR and grant writing. They're very, very different worlds, so it's going to be interesting to see how we combine those. And, people have a variety of backgrounds, but those are typically two different kind of fields. So I'm eager to see if we can nail down an individual that's got a background in both and bring some expertise in both areas.
Okay. So we'll table this to the next meeting anyway?
Motion to postpone it to the next meeting.
Postpone it? Have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? and it carries. Under the Selectmen's report, budget meetings are continuing. On the revenue side, just to let you know, this whole thing has been very challenging for a first selectman. I mean, I know the department heads are bringing their budgets in, and I have to look at it as what I think the people of Southbury need and what they can do. But on the revenue side, the state let us know last Friday that about 4:30, the email came in, that the pilot money and the municipal aid money that we have been getting and told we would be getting will be cut. And this is almost $600,000 in lost revenue going into the budget that I developed the budget, I'm close, and then now I have to take a look again at $600,000 in lost revenue. This budget season is going to be difficult. The inflationary pressures are there. So just, let you know, I had thought I would have it wrapped up a little bit quicker, but that kind of threw a curveball, Dan and I, and we'll be looking at that. Good news, the second distribution of the test kits and masks went very well again. I want to say thank you to Steve Schnell, the PD, and all those who helped to contribute. It was one cold morning. I couldn't be there, but I was out in the cold doing some farm stuff. It was a cold morning, but they got it done. It went very smooth. I've heard nothing but good things about it. Public Works crews continue to battle Old Man Winter. Their efforts are much appreciated by the citizens of Southbury. They are actually looking ahead towards spring. And what the Public Works is doing now is they're actually ordering supplies ahead of time now so that they have the materials needed. Like normally they would order turf paint for the grass in the parks. They generally would wait till spring and go get the paint, and so they could paint the lines and stuff and the striping. But they're ordering them. They took the initiative to order them now in case there were issues in the spring with supplies. And so if it's there, that it's in the budget before a load comes in, it's increased. There was a number of purchase orders that just came through today to get that stuff. Also, they're lining up road maintenance for the spring and intend on moving right into the new budget season instead of stopping. We would do the chip sealing, and then we'd have to, then July. We've got them scheduled now, so the money in July will hit, and they're already going to be on the schedule, and they're going to move without stopping. And we're hoping that will save some money and extend our road maintenance program even further. They're doing a good job. They, thinking out of the box, the town, if you remember, they rented a screener to screen the chip seal into two separate piles, 1/4 inch and 3/8. They rented it. I forget what the number, 15 or 20, whatever it was. And what we're seeing now is a savings after paying for the rental. We're seeing a savings of about $84,000 in material because we're recycling the chip seal, which frankly we thought we would, but we didn't know. And the good news is not only did we save the $84,000, but while it was here, they were also screening topsoil. So that's a bonus, and they were screening the millings that they have. So the Public Works is thinking outside the box, coming up with ideas, even the people, the guys that are on in the crews, and it is paying off. And frankly, I can't say how proud Southbury can be about the Public Works crews and what they've been doing. The ice storms, it's been a rough, it was a rough storm. We had very minimal damage in that ice storm, and other municipalities had a number of problems. So the guys are being very careful about what they do and how they treat our equipment. So that's just a shout out to our Public Works guys and gals out there working. Any other questions for me? Everybody good? Okay. Can we have reports from liaisons? Justin?
Sure. Economic Development met last night. Relatively quick meeting, but we did get an update from Kevin on some of the things he's working on. The group continues to work on the dog parade, which will be end of April, and that should be very interesting. And we also heard from Ed Edelson about the 10th anniversary of the movie Home of the Brave that he and Rabbi Polikoff and others are working on.
Yep.
They got some events planned for later this year, so that'll be interesting, and obviously that's a nice part of our history. The Investment Portfolio Committee has not met. They will not meet again, I think, until April. Strategic Plan canceled their meeting last Thursday to go to the POCD open house, but ended up not happening. And we obviously, three of us here just got out of the ARPA task force meeting, and we heard from the fire department as well as the Parks and Rec department about some of the things that they would like to see the money go to. So I think that will be most of the meetings with department heads that we have, and we'll be discussing what our list might look like at our next meeting. That's it.
Thank you. Jason, you're up.
So, library board met last week. The Friends reported that their lobby sale's going well, and I was there with my kids this weekend, and we bought a couple books at it, so I encourage you to stop by the lobby sale and get some books. And they're doing very well, that they're donating some money to the library board to determine for use for a project at the library that's going to be decided at upcoming board meetings as to what that can be done. That a couple years ago, something similar happened where it's not going to be a project like happened a couple years ago, but they updated the whole front of the library and bricks and whatnot. And they're looking at having a sale in April, hopefully, depending on how everything's going. They talked about some reappointments on the board, which we approved tonight, and a new member as well as an alternate, which we approved tonight. And the other main thing is a significant portion of their meeting was devoted to discussing their preliminary gift fund budget. For those new to the board, at budget season, we have a bunch of special something funds. Special revenue funds. And one of them is the library gift fund, which they sort of set, but it gets appropriated out of our annual budget. There's like an attachment with a list of a bunch of special appropriation funds. So they started that process of going through that. Justin talked about ARPA, and we've met now. We've had a number of meetings, met with a number of department heads and others in the community. Have solicited input from the public. If anyone's listening and still has input they want to send us, there's a website. You could still do that. And over the next, I think, couple weeks, we'll be having a meeting to try and narrow down the list of various requests we've gotten to make a recommendation to this board and the Board of Finance as to what to do there. LEPC hasn't met, and I'm also EMS, so we could add that. I think, I haven't heard from them on what their 2022 schedule is yet. If it holds true to their normal schedule, it'll be next week. So that's it.
Okay. John?
So mine is simple. They have not met since we last met. Have meetings next Wednesday and Thursday for Parks and Rec and the Conservation Commission.
Okay. Greg?
Okay, so we met with the Senior Services Commission just this past week. And give me one moment, I'm sorry. So quite a few things that were talked about as we come up on tax season. There's a volunteer income tax assistance, the acronym VITA or VITA, a program overseen by the IRS. Has always been great to Southbury. They help prep tax returns for seniors. I guess we've been in touch with them, and they're facing challenges like everybody else with COVID, lack of volunteers, unsure of what level of service they'll be able to provide. So that was just something identified as a challenge coming up. We talked about a grant that's in the process of being written, coming down the pike to hopefully procure a new bus for the senior center. So that should be coming down the road. Senior Services is very happy they are able to transition to a fully electronic publishing platform for their newsletters and other outbound digital communication. Good opportunity for them. It'll allow them to be more efficient in terms of their ability to get information out and just communicate to a bigger degree, just in a way that is consistent with the world going digital. An interesting effort to track cancellations, whether it's programs or transportation, rather than just taking a cancellation for something. They're looking to see if they can get reasons for cancellations and kind of see how that affects their services and if there's something to be gained by having that information. And last, there was a discussion about, I guess, a challenge that's come up in terms of the logistics of where the buses would stay in the middle of a winter storm and how snow removal for the buses would go. I guess a plan was put in place, and so they're looking forward to testing that out and seeing how that works. But I guess that's come with some challenges. So like I said, they're looking forward to seeing how that works out for them. IT Steering Committee, 3 big topics that were talked about. I know, Jeff, you've mentioned before just the topic of insurance and the costs with that. And so the topic of insurance related to cyber attacks and whatnot was discussed, and what's needed to secure insurance in that respect. When you go to an insurance company, there's all sorts of things that they expect a town to have in place to make sure that the town's infrastructure is secure. So just discussion on how to go about achieving that. Again, Jeff, you've mentioned the cost of licenses, so that came up as part of conversation. Interesting effort to try and examine how many licenses we have for software. It was somewhere in the 170 range, and kind of an internal audit to see what can be done to, can we whittle down the number of licenses? They had it down last check to somewhere around 140, which is still considerable. But lots of conversation about maybe looking at different types of licenses and just different ways that they can leverage getting discounts on their next round of renewing licenses. And last, which is probably will eventually come before the board, is there was a discussion about the town's phone system, and in terms of it aging and coming to a point where as phones and the phone system approaches, as phones break or what have you, that replacements aren't easy to come across. And so putting together a plan in place to see about replacing the system. So those were the 3 big topics for IT steering. And last, I just want to touch on Energy Task Force. That was another good meeting. We met earlier this week. There was a significant discussion on re-entering the virtual net metering program. I know that the town has attempted that before. The state's regulatory agency, PURA, has redeveloped the plan, which gives Southbury, the opportunity to re-enter into that if there's a will to do that. The real issues, the big issues with moving forward on something like that is siting, and of course the capital cost to build and then interconnect, to create an interconnection to utilities. The value with that would be ultimately creating, you know, a microgrid with energy storage capacity that provides primary backup power to critical town resources on the loss of power. The excess power that's generated gets sold back for a profit. And the task force is looking at what's needed to meet what are really tight deadlines that PURA has set for this year if a project like that was to be completed over the next year or two. So I'm sure we'll have some more specifics on that by the next meeting of the task force, if not sooner. And last, there was a discussion about sustainable CT and the task force effort to support that. And I guess they've been working with Jerry in Public Works, and they reached out to, for some help from Don Antilla and Hugh Sullivan to try and get an inventory of our street lighting. Apparently by creating that inventory, we gained some credits through sustainable CT. So there's an effort to see that through.
We should really have, we did a big upgrade. I thought that was already inventoried. That should be pretty quick.
I saw some notes that Jerry said that he had inventory stuff. I don't know
Okay.
the details per se on it.
Okay, they must just be starting on it. Well, we have, you know, because there was a specific bid that went out, so we know exactly the number and where everything is.
Good news then. That means
Yeah, I think that'll come pretty quick.
sustainable CT credits coming.
Okay.
Thank you.
Holly?
Yeah, so the Board of Education had a meeting on January 10th. I was able to stream along with them for their full meeting. They had 2 student representatives, which was really interesting to hear some of the pain points that they were expressing, mostly around quarantine guidelines and missing some of the live teaching that they were struggling to catch up, especially before an exam or things like that. So it was really nice to kind of hear the balance, as well as also hearing about some of the successes of the athletic department. So it was great to see some kids involved and relating to the board what's going on there. The vast majority of their meeting was a presentation from a nonprofit organization that they're currently working with. It was formerly called the Connecticut Center for School Change. They have rebranded as Partners for Educational Leadership. And this organization works in 40 other school districts here in the state, and their focus is to reduce achievement gaps, promote equity in school, and with a mission to improve teaching and learning. So essentially they're really looking at some of the strategic methods that are used in some of the most high-performing districts in the state. And it's not a top-down directive, but really came from the requests of Region 15 of what can we be doing better, and here's what we'd like to be doing. So it was a really interesting hour-plus long presentation from this nonprofit organization that we're already partnering with. So that was all productive stuff. They did take a break to go into executive session to vote on their collective bargaining agreements with PEA. When they returned from executive session, it did pass. So it's a good meeting.
Anything else? Any other motions?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? And we are adjourned. Thank you.